So we are in the kitchen again today. It's so exciting because we are going to take you back to maybe when you were a kid, if you can remember having mushroom soup. And we have been talking this week. We did a little segment about salt and how sodium, which is the main component of what we call salt, is something that you should really minimize. The maximum you should be getting is 1 teaspoon a day. And I'm pretty sure most of us are getting more than that. And this is something that I have been consciously trying to remove from my diet. And so one of the ways that we can um, uh, deal with that is to, I guess the taste difference is to make sure we're spicing things up. So we are also going to make our own poultry seasoning mix. And you can do this with pretty much any seasonings and make your own blend and your own mix. I'm going to have some other blend mixes that you can try on your own, including your own version of what the Mrs. Dash recipe, because if maybe there's some spice in there that you're not really loving or feeling, you can take that one out and make it your own. And it is so easy. And I have to say, like when I was, I don't know, I always thought like this was stuff that was so mystical to me and something that was probably hard to do, maybe I thought. And now that I've been enlightened, I want to make sure that you know that it's actually really easy to do the DIY. So let's do the DIY here. All right. So we're going to start, before we do anything, we're going to start by getting our mushroom soup going. And we are going to put in some onion to saute and then add some garlic. And so I'm going to turn on my burner here onto a medium heat, or a little, maybe a little bit higher because I want to get it going, but for you would be a medium. And I'm going to do it with water. You can, we talked about oil as well, and really cutting back and removing as much as possible those processed oils. And so for oilless cooking, I'm going to saute my onions and my garlic in water. So I'm basically just going to put like 1/4 inch of water across the bottom of my pan. Now, if you want to really caramelize your onions, then you're going to want to really, skimp on how much water and really keep moving it around and just adding water as need be. But I am trying to, host you here. So I am going to put a little more water in. Like I said, about a quarter of an inch on the bottom. And so that's going to warm up. And the nice thing about this is it's very forgiving, and you can add in your onion and let it come to a simmer. So I've got my onion. I'm going to chop that up. And I could have cut this up, but I wanted to show you just how easy it is and how quick it can be to do this. So I'm just going to chop up my onion. And that doesn't have to be into small little bits. You can make it a little bit bigger of a dice, but I'm just going to throw it in now while the water is warming up, because it's not going to burn. It's not the same as oil frying. All right, so I'm going to add that in, and I'm doing a whole onion here. I'm just going to add, oops, my onion went away on me. And I'm just going to make some rough cuts here. So my onion, I cubed it, I don't know, maybe half an inch or so. So it's not a small cube, but it's not a big cube either. And I'm just going to throw that in the pot, which is already starting. The water is starting to boil already. So I throw that in. And then we're going to let those simmer up. we're going to add in some garlic as well. So I've got some garlic. I did a chop on the garlic. So I'm just going to add that now as well. And again, because I'm using water, I find garlic burns quite easily. So when I'm sauteing with oil, I really put the garlic in at the last second and just watch it carefully. But with this, because it's in water, it's much more forgiving. Now, if you're trying to get the caramelization, then it's not going to be as forgiving as what I'm doing, where I just want to soften them up. All right. So the water's already boiling, and I can hear it over here. I'm going to chop up some potatoes. So the creaminess is coming from the potatoes. Now I've got 4, not too big potatoes. They're kind of between small and medium. And usually I don't take the skin off. You don't need to take the skin off. You could leave it on. But for this, I decided to take it off because I'm going to do a little bit of blending, and you could blend the skins, but I also want to leave it a bit chunky. And I know my family, they aren't going to appreciate the skins in it. But when I blend it really, like if I were to blend it to be really finely blended, I could leave my potato skins on. Or if it was just for me, I could leave the potato skins on as well. So I've got I'm just going to put that back here. So I've got 4 potatoes. I'm just kind of chop up into, again, it doesn't have to be small and you don't have to be exact and precise. But I'm just kind of doing, bite-sized pieces of that. And like I said, that is going to bring our creaminess. And potatoes is a real staple in our the food that we're eating. If you're doing the Kickstart program, potatoes is actually on the menu every day. So this is another way to get your potatoes. And they are one of the Mother Nature's most complete foods for us to eat. And they get a bad rap, but this humble potato actually does us a lot for us. So I've got that chopped up, and got our onion on here boiling away, and it's actually, it's doing really well. I'm gonna leave that on. I'm gonna add a little bit more water because it's evaporated on me. And this recipe is so easy. I've also chopped up my mushrooms, so they're ready to go. And in the meantime, we're going to start working on our spice blend, which is exciting. Make room for everything. My kitchen's not a big kitchen, but this little area is even smaller. All right. So believe it or not, we're going to use our Vitamix for this. And this is actually kind of fun. So our poultry seasoning, we have a lot of stuff like rosemary, which I don't know if you ever buy rosemary. It's like little sticks, and you can crunch it up, but it's still in little sticks. Well, one of the things you can do is basically pulverize it in your Vitamix to make it into a powder, which is really cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of our ingredients into the Vitamix, and we're just going to blend it up, and then that will pulverize everything into a powder, and that's going to be our poultry seasoning. So we're starting. We have sage here. Now, my sage is already a powder form. It's already been powdered, and you can get it with not like that, but that's what I have in my house. And so if you're doing a blend where everything that you have is already in a powder form, you don't need to put it in the Vitamix. You can just put it into a jar and shake it up, and that's all you need to do. All right, we'll keep on doing this. So my onion is starting to get soft, so I'm going to add in the mushrooms. And so I have a bunch of different mushrooms that I'm doing. You can just do one type. I have some cremini mushrooms that actually come from the store already cut up, so I like that. So I'm going to add that to my, and those will be a bit bigger mushrooms. They're cut up, but they're kind of chunky still. And that's one time trick, is you can buy them already cut up. And this is a blend of oyster mushrooms and portobello mushrooms that I've done. So I did scrape out the gills of the portobello mushrooms. And I also used the stems because they were really nice, young, fresh portobello mushrooms. If they were older and it was woody, I wouldn't use the stem. But in this case, they were good. And I have oyster mushrooms, and I left a couple. This is my favorite one. So this is what the oyster mushrooms look like. And I basically just chopped them up into pieces, and they're kind of at the bottom here. And so it's quite a bit of mushrooms, but mushrooms really boil down and they really shrink in cooking. And so the more mushrooms you have, the thicker it will be. And the same thing with the potato, it will get thicker. So now the mushrooms are in and they're cooking, and there's going to be quite a bit of water that's going to be released from the mushrooms. So it's going to get a little bit on the wet side in here. We're just going to let it cook down. Now, like right now, there are mushrooms with the mushrooms in, that's like right almost at the top of my thing, but they're going to cook down quite a bit. So we'll let that cook down and just kind of keep an eye out for those while we do our other one. So that's our mushrooms. All right. So we added sage. We're going to add some thyme. And so my thyme is not powdered. It's kind of like a flaky here, little leaves. So dried leaves. So I'm going to add that in. I'm adding in my rosemary, which again is in like looks like little sticks. And I've got that in. And then I have some marjoram as well, which is also the same thing. It's kind of the dried leaves. And I have some parsley, which is again dried. And so it's not in a powder format. So I'll add that in. I have some onion diced, like dried onion chunks, flakes, I guess. I'm adding that in. Now you could, if you don't have onion flakes, you could use onion powder, no problem. I have celery seed and also some, sorry, that's not, where's my celery seed? Celery seed is here. So it again is not in a powder, it's little seeds. And then I have black pepper and some nutmeg. I combine those two because they're smaller amounts. And that's it. Now you could add more things. I was actually thinking, for our family, we could probably add garlic to it. It would make it nice. But I'm not going to do that. And if you don't like one of those spices, leave it out. You don't have to put it in. So this is where you have the license to make it the spice mix what suits your taste buds. And so basically, this is the fun part. I'm just going to put it on my Vitamix. It doesn't take very long, and it looks so cool. So here we go. And I'm just going to whiz it up.
I can tell you enjoyed hitting that button.
Right? What did you say?
I can tell you enjoyed hitting that button.
Yeah, this is fun. We'll let the dust settle. Look, there's a little bit of dust coming out. And I have my powder there. Like, that's all it takes to really mix it up. And, oh, you can smell it too, coming off, wafting off. Woof. Ooh, all right. I'm just going to check my mushrooms and stir them up. All right, so just to show you my mushrooms, I'll bring them over here. They're like down to half the size they were when we first put them in already. And there's some that are still haven't cooked yet. All right. So then all I need to do is I have a funnel, and I have these mason jars are like your friend. I love mason jars because they are fairly inexpensive to get. I know you can also get stuff at the dollar store, but these ones, they come in a set of 12 with the lid. You can get different sizes, and they really are quite inexpensive, and they are so versatile. So I'm just going to put my spice mix in here, and I'm just going to use a funnel and just hope that I can tap it in. Woo! Get it here. Now, one thing I will say, depending on the spices you are using, I found that it did kind of some of the spices can stain the sides of your Vitamix container. You can get, if you're really into this spice blends and this kind of stuff, you can get stainless steel containers or vessels to put them in, or to do this fun little pulverization. But you can also clean the containers with vinegar as well. That will work too. And like if you're doing something like turmeric or something, you're definitely getting a lot of color in it. So you might end up with some stains, but it's cool and really easy to do. So now I can make a bigger one. I could probably do about 4 times what I've done here to get this jar full. I could put a label on it and a date, and I keep that in the cupboard. All these are spices that will last quite a while. And I'm going to use this spice mix in my mushroom soup. All right. Now it's quite liquidy in here. The mushrooms are really boiling down. They're getting to the point where I'm probably going to add my spices. So I have some onion and garlic powder that I'm adding in as well, just because the add flavoring. And don't be shy with the flavors for sure. And I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons. You can do 1 to 2 tablespoons of your poultry seasoning. And again, don't be shy. Please don't be shy, because these things, you want to have the flavors, and then you won't miss the salt, because you notice we're not putting any salt in. So I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons.
Bless you.
That powder is getting to me. All right. So that's that and that. And so we're just going to stir this up. And one day when we can smell, it smells delicious in here. And once our mushrooms are pretty shrunken down, like they are getting there pretty close to what I would say, we're going to add some vegetable broth and our potatoes, and then let it simmer for about 20 minutes. And then we will have, we want to make sure the potatoes are soft. And they don't take that long because they're cut very fine, pretty small chunks. But we're ready. I'm going to add in the potatoes into my thing. And then I'm adding in vegetable broth. So vegetable broth is a tricky one when you're talking. So I got a low sodium, but I didn't find any that was no salt at all. This one is a organic one. It has, it says organic vegetable broth, which is just basically water, organic vegetable stock concentrate, which contains carrots, onions, celery, and then it says sea salt. It has pear juice and cane sugar, carrot juice, and then a little bit of sunflower oil, onion powder, and then mushroom powder. So it's not the best, but I didn't have anything at home that I have homemade. So this is 4 cups or a liter, and I'm going to put that in and then let it simmer. Now, you can watch for how thick you want yours. You can add more if it evaporates. I say anywhere from 4 to 6 cups is probably what you will use, but make it. You can make it as thick as or as thin as you want. It's up to you. And so I'm going to let that simmer on the stove now. For, like I said, once it comes to a boil, I'm going to put it on simmer covered with the lid for about 20 minutes or so until the potatoes are soft. All right. And of course, we have our demo. Let me get rid of this out of the way for us. And we know that mushrooms are really good for us, right? They have a lot. They're good for our immunity and all sorts of things. And we could have like mushrooms every day. And this is a great way to add mushrooms into your daily diet. So now,
I bet that smells wonderful.
And and it tastes pretty good too, Kathy. So this is pretty thick, and I want to try and show you if I can. I'm going to use this container. So definitely it's thickened up, and I'm going to use I have an immersion blender that I'm going to use to make it more creamy. But right now you can see there's the broth, and then the mushrooms and the potatoes are chunky here. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, well enough. And so if you want your really creamy soup and you don't want any chunks in it, you can put it in your blender. But I'm going to kind of I like the immersion blender I like to use for things when I want it to be not as chunky and make it a little bit smoother, but I want to leave some chunks in there. So this is my immersion blender. I'm just going to turn it on. All right, so it has a little bit of chunk to it. Can you see the little bit of chunk?
All I can see is the immersion blender.
Okay, it has chunks on it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you meant you wanted me to look at the pot.
All right, that's okay. So now, here, let me show you again. Now it's a little.
Oh, what a difference! What a difference!
Yeah, and so it's not. There's still chunks, but most of it is pretty smooth. I don't know if you could see that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's basically. You can have. I have my little cup. I can pour myself a cup of mushroom soup. Oh, I've got some mushrooms that are still pretty whole, and it's up to you, really, how thick you want it. You know, if you add more potatoes or do less liquid, you'll get thicker. Add more mushrooms, whatever. So this is a guide, and you can make it to whatever style or thick consistency fits for you and your family. but it's pretty thick, I would say, and it's pretty hot. Smells good.
You know, a couple weeks ago, you made those crackers that look so yummy. I bet that'd be perfect with that.
Yeah, I was thinking that, or I know you were talking about bread. It'd be good. All
The
right.
heart wants what the heart wants, Debbie.
It's thumbs up for me. I love mushrooms, and so bon appetit.
Oh, that looks lovely.
And that's it. I'm just going to check. My other pot is here. Kathy, any questions?
So you said that you gilled all the mushrooms, or just the ones that you had bought that weren't already sliced?
So I bought sliced ones, and so those I just threw in as they are out of the package. And then the portobello, I took the gills off. They have gills on the underside of the cap. These oyster mushrooms, the gills are on the outside, and I do not take the gills off, because the reason the gills come off is more for aesthetics than anything else. So you don't have to. And as a matter of fact, my mushrooms were pretty light colored gills. The darker the gills usually mean that they're older. So especially portobello mushrooms, you can tell if they're fresh by the fact that there's going to be white membranes around the like on the bottom side, and the gills will be a lighter color. And as they are older and they've been sitting around longer, the gills get darker and that membrane dries up. So you don't have that membrane anymore.
So the mushroom that you just had in your hand, how would you cut that?
I just chopped it. I didn't. I did take a little bit of the base off because it's a bit rubbery, but the rest of it, I just chopped it into fine. Like I just basically chop. Nothing scientific. Just chop it up.
When I went to Wegmans the other day, the mushroom bar has changed. I guess it's changed and I just never noticed it, or I haven't been back to that particular store in a while. But now everything's in plastic. So it's not well, I don't know how fresh things are, but it was pictured like a kind of like a salad bar before.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's very nicely stacked. It looks very attractive, and it's all packaged.
Nice.
So you take what the quantities that they provide, not the quantities that.
And that's most of the places that here are the same way. You get what you get, and you just kind of. I'm just going to turn that down now. It's ready to turn down. Most of them you do you get it in a package. The one grocery store that I always go to get their mushrooms, the one where I got these, have the best mushrooms going. The other place that you can get good mushrooms, if you have a place around, is Asian stores. Have a lot of different ones. I know there's a Korean grocery store not too far from us. It's like by our Costco, LOL. So sometimes when I go to Costco, I'll go there, and they have a good selection of mushrooms there, and a decent price. But the one grocery store here, it's a family-run business. I get my mushrooms from them usually because they seem to have the freshest and best mushrooms all the time. And they have some where you can pick your own, and then they have some in the cellophane wrap. So they have a kind of a variety. So that's where I get my mushrooms. And so this is like simple to make soup. Actually, I was going to say, if you were missing your salt, you can add a squeeze of lemon, and that will give you freshen it up to kind of brighten it up so that you kind of get that illusion of it being salty. But for me, I don't even need the salt in this. It tastes good just the way it is. And like I said, don't be shy on your spices because you want to get all that flavor. All right. Well, that's it for our Friday in the kitchen today. And we will be back next week talking about more things. I think we might talk a little bit about some of things of the heart next week. But next week we will be back and we'll see you then. Bye for now.